You.
Om Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Sri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Sri Tapovana Sishyaya Namaha. So we see the Shanti Patha on the screen. So let's all do the Shanti Patha first together. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranam Nirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaha te mayi santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we have done first chapter of Kenopanishad. Now, before we start the second chapter, which is essentially the essence of the whole Upanishad, I want to spend additional time to close some of the loose ends and also give you an overview of the first chapter in a slightly different way so that we prepare ourselves for the second chapter. So, with that in mind, the first chapter starts with a question by the student. The question is, what is that which elements our eyes, our ears, or all our organs of perception and activity, and also connects all of them to our life? So basically, the student has an intuition, or intuitively he has understood there is the things that we see physically are not the actual driving conscious power behind them. And there is something behind them that is running the show. These are just physical equipment, either gross or subtle physical equipment. In that context, I have defined what is physical in the past. Please pay attention, that way we'll kind of get that again together in our mind. The physical by nature is that which is seen, drushyam, number one. Number two, that which is changing, savikaryam in Sanskrit. And third is which is temporary, means comes and goes, agamapayitvam in Sanskrit. So the student is asking that which is not this, which is non-material. He knows. So what is non-material? that which cannot be seen, adrishyam. Drishya means seen, adrishya means that not seen. Avikaryam. Vikaryam means changing. Avikaryam means changeless. Because he's asking what is that connecting all of this? It has to be something that is behind. That's connecting by itself, not changing. And the third thing is not temporary. Anagapayinitvam. Agamapayinitvam is temporary. Anagamapayinitvam is untemporary or permanent, you can say. So this difference, the contrast between physical or material and non-material. So he's now asking what is that non-material thing that is running this show. Okay. Now the teacher faces a challenge. If it is something you cannot show, this is it, then it is difficult. And so it is not that running the mind also, something running behind the mind. So if I say this is it, mentally a concept I give you, then, oh, you think that is it, but that's not it because it is not a product of mind. So all our life, when we say, did you understand? We only look in terms of what my mind can understand, analyze, and within the mind form a concept, an idea. But this is not that because it is something different. It's non-material. So the teacher has a challenge. The challenge is, I have already mentioned, now I've just mentioned here, it is actually the subject. The past I mentioned several times. So how do a person tell you about the subject, which is always there, but it is not an object of your mind or thought or speech. Because the student is asking about the subject, which is it's always there, but he wants to have a concrete knowledge of that, but not as an object of knowledge, but as a subject. So this is the challenge teacher has. Only way it can be done, he is giving some indicators, and that is done in verse number 2 by saying it is the eye of the eye, and it is the mind of the mind, it is the speech of the speech, and prana of prana. So the technique used here is, when you say mind of the mind, just I'm taking one of those 4 items, you now turn yourself inward and then make your mind as an object, then it stops. When it stops, you get a sense of what you are. But when you have the mind in play, then it is interpreting it. When it is interpreting, it is only interpreting something it is used to. So when it stops, it just merges into consciousness. Now, the word I use, consciousness. A lot of people, when they hear the word consciousness, they assume what we know as conscious. I'll just give a simple example. When you say consciousness, what comes to our mind is, okay, somebody is not moving, or he's in coma, or he's in deep sleep. What do we say? Oh, I don't think he's conscious. So we are seeing consciousness as a product of the body, or breathing, or a product of physical movements. That is our normal way of looking at it. So this is one of the loose ends I want to close in this introduction. Consciousness in this context is not that a person showing physical signs. it is that because of which physical science are possible. So in this same verse, in mantra number 2, he gives an indicator, a couple more indicators of the consciousness. In this context, I want to mention that those indicators are Chakshusas Chakshu Atimuchya Dhiraha Amruta Bhavanti. Once you transcend the senses, here Amruta means consciousness. You become consciousness. So it is not an indicated by the senses, but it is the ones because of which senses are able to get their capacity to function. So when the senses stop, you realize you still exist. And that existence is the support because of which your mind operates. How do we know? Let us say I'm looking at something, and then suddenly I hear something. So I withdraw my attention from what I'm looking, and then I pay my attention to what I'm hearing. So that's something which is directed away from hearing to seeing to listen is that consciousness. It is always light. It's like light that is illumining our senses and mind. That is always there because we are always something or other is happening. We are breathing or we're sleeping. Behind that, consciousness is making it happen. It is like a screen on which names and forms are projected. So Atimuchya Dhiraha Amruta Bhavanti. So when we transcend the senses, when we withdraw our attention from senses, you become that subject. Amruta Bhavanti. Amruta. So what is the extra indicator given here is consciousness is that which elements the senses. And not only that, it is everybody's senses, not only just my senses or your senses or the senses of people of devatas also, of devas also. Because the student uses deva, deveshu, deveshu. So or people in India, so it is all pervading principle of sentiency that is giving sentiency to the objects of the world, including our senses. So he gave another indicator of consciousness. It is Sat Chit. Sat means all pervading, like Akasha. Chit means conscious entity, all pervading conscious entity. It's a positive way of saying it. Atimuchya Dhiraha, that is the indicator of consciousness. Pretyasmal loka amruta bhavanti. Again, amruta bhavanti. After we leave this body and world of senses, even then you still remain there. If once you transcend senses, once you are able to transcend senses, even the body drops, you remain there as a screen. The body is nothing but a show of nama, names and forms. So it is not limited by the body. It's not a property of the body. It's not a product of the body. It is independent principle. So I have added two more to what the list. So when you talk about the non-material, you got two more. You got to add two more. So basically, a non-material is it is not seen, adrusyam. It is changeless. It is permanent, nitya. Permanent is nitya. It's always there. Okay. Satchit, it is conscious, living entity, that okay, the all-pervading entity, and it's not a product of the body or property of the body or limited by the body. It exists independently. These five principles. When I say consciousness, suddenly your heart has to feel that as you. It is that because of which I'm able to talk. It is that because of which I can be quiet. Observing quietness. In both situations, it is there, are changeless. Speech only borrowing consciousness for activity, but it is not consciousness, speech. So these five, as soon as whenever I say consciousness, these five things have to come to your mind. That's why I wanted to take this extra time today. So now the teacher is now delving into the teaching in such a way he can get the students gradually lifted, uplifted to that serene sense of being, Satchit, infinite sense of being, objectless awareness. So he once again emphasizes in mantrati, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no manaha. Why? I said earlier, because the sentiency is given to all these by that infinite existence, Satchit. So these are products within consciousness. So Srotrasya Srotram, Chakshusas Chakshuhu means consciousness envelops it. And then it makes it I as I. So it's all pervading. Same thing, we exist within consciousness. Only thing is we see it through the body as an object and then looking for it, so you cannot find it. Just like a fish, when it asks for water, where is water? It needs education that you are in water. Because it is always in water, so it would not know what is water is. It just assumes that is how world is. Same thing with consciousness. You are existing within infinite conscious existence, Satchit, which is independent of the body. That's where the scientists have a problem. Scientists are always looking for consciousness in matter. That's why they cannot find it. Because consciousness is looking in names and forms. When you're looking in names and forms, so conclusion will also be in names and forms. But you are within consciousness, just like fish is in water. So when you're asking for consciousness, where is it? You are actually making a big mistake. But teacher cannot say that. He's trying to gradually withdraw your attention to yourself. So we don't know how to teach, he says. Verse number 3. But then he says, this is a very important point. From here we go to the next chapter. Anyadeva viditat tad viditat atho athaha. Anyadeva viditat tad viditat atho aviditat adhi. Anyadeva tad viditat atho aviditat adhi. This is a good point, important point. So the world of knowledge that we have, when I'm learning something, basically what is happening is I divide the world into two categories. One category is unknown items. Other category is known items. So when I'm learning something, I'm moving some information from unknown to known. That's all I know. Whenever I'm learning something, the only way I look at it is I am reducing what I do not know and increasing what I know. That's all what objective knowledge is. But both of these are happening in presence of Atman, self, that infinite Satchit, independent existing principle, which illumines everything. So here, Anyadeva, that existing, infinite existing principle is Anyadeva. It is different from Viditat Adho Aviditadati. It is different from the department of known category, and also it is different from the category of unknown. Because known and unknown belong to the world of ideas, intellect. When the intellect stops, you become you. That always there. It's not a known, it is you. Then he says, Iti sushruma purvesham yenastad vyachachakshare. This is how we heard from our Guru Parampara. So basically here is the clue is given that yes, it can be taught. But the conventional process of teaching, transforming from unknown to known, that don't work. It is different. Anyadeva, viditat adho aviditadadhi. This is a very important, very powerful statement. This is the seed for next chapter. That's why I'm taking this time. Then he says from mantras 5 to 9, he says, it is not what you think it. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Whatever you worship as this Shiva, this Vishnu, this Amma, this Durga, that's not it. It is that Durga who's all pervading. That's the point he's trying to make, which is the support of you. It is that Shiva who is all pervading Satchit, which exists, whether even whether you are not aware of the body or senses also, it exists. When you withdraw yourself and remain, that is Durga. It is different from the known and unknown, because both of them are happening in the presence of Atman. The information is happening. So if I say, so basically it is this screen of Satchit, which is lending consciousness or sentiency to the show of the matter. The mind is also matter because it changes. Hopefully it does. When you're listening to the class, hopefully you are able to relate to what is going on. So that's why it's changing. Because of that, change matter also, mind also comes to the category, mind, intellect also comes to the category of matter, changing. Whereas changeless is which is behind, which is connecting all of that. So that is the Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi. That is that which is beyond all this, in which all these experiences are taking place and dropping. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi. And this was repeated from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 times. To hammer the point that it is not a product of the body, it's not a property of the body, it's not a part of the body. When I say body, all senses are included, let us say, for the sake of discussion here. Our mind is included. Intellect is included. So I was telling earlier, it's a body, mind, intellect, ego. These are all included when I say the body. When we drop these, the so-called I, when it's attached with body, which attached body, mind, and intellect, it becomes I and mama happens. But when we train our heart and gradually start experiencing the independence of that Satchit, the ahamkara becomes diluted. And that is Atman. Diluted, and gradually this becomes irrelevant. It is still there, but it doesn't affect, does not pull the ego that way. That's what happens. Now, there's a beautiful stanza that Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi has written in Upadesasara, very powerful. Veshahanata swatmadarshanam atmadarshanam isharupataha. Veshahanataha swatmadarshanam. The ego is taking various vashas. Vashas means I am body, my emotions, what about me? How come I'm not recognized like that? My ideas. It takes, these are all veshas ego takes. Veshahanataha. Once the veshas are all deleted, Swatmadarshanam, Atman Darshana takes place. So as long as objectively we are in the field of body, mind, and intellect, ego is bound by that. Veshahanataha means the ego is taking all these veshas, means the costumes. When you go vesh, just like a stage actor, when he comes to stage, he accepts a costume, but he might be he would just like maybe he's acting as a beggar, but he might be a multi-billionaire. But he knows he's a multi-billionaire. I'm just acting to make more money. That's so he's aware. That's why Ahankara, once it is trained that I'm infinite self, Satchit, it can still accept the Veshas, but it is not affected by them. It remains humble and it says the privilege. God has always been kind. Like that, our attitude changes. Veshaha anataha swatmadarshanam, Ishadarshanam, swatmarupataha. So the Ishadarshanam is nothing but realizing I am him, he is me. Swatmarupataha, that is subject. So this one beautiful stanza summarizes everything I've been trying to teach. At the same time, unless you know what is Atman, you don't understand. Swatmaha, Isha means you also don't understand what is Isha means. That is consciousness. So that's why you need those 5 pointers. What is Isha? What is Atma? You have to have that clarity. Otherwise, it is just a sloka. Okay, I got it. But no, it's not getting the meaning. It's getting the spiritual connectivity. Swatmadarshanam. Swatmadarshanam means that 5 pointers I mentioned have to come. It is not an object of drishyam. It is not object of senses. It is not changing. It is permanent. It is all pervading Satchit, and it's not a product or property of the body. All these 5 things. Isha darshanam, swatmarupataha. Swatmarupataha. The moment you hear that, all these 5 flash in your heart. Mind should collapse. Meditate. Don't look. You don't have to look anywhere. You are that now. So this sets the stage for the second chapter. Because in the very second chapter, the teacher first tries to examine the student. Very unique way. Again, this is Vedanta is about a subject. Everybody knows I exist, but no, everybody thinks the existence is body or mind or intellect. You know I exist, but you attach it to wrong place. So the teacher is trying to disconnect that knot. And that is a very challenge because it's not objective. I'm repeating this because that's where the whole gist of the Vedanta challenge is there. Verse number 1, having said this introduction, suddenly it comes to you in your heart when I go to the first verse now. Let us have first verse on the screen, please. Chapter 2, first mantra. Yes. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam tvam vettat brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu athanu mimamsamevate manye viditam. This I want the first verse of second chapter. Next one. Chapter. Okay. This is it. This is it. Please. Okay. I'm reading again. Yedi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya deveshu athanu mimansamevate manye viditam. Here the teacher is making a statement and prompting the student to say what he understood. I wish all the teaching is like this. when wishing is when the subject matter is very complicated, the teaching also has to be in a very subtle and at the same time probing into the eyes of the student. This is how the teaching will take place. So here he make a statement. Yedi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam brahmano rupam. If you think manyase, if you consider that brahmana rupam suvedeti, that you know God's form well, like an object, like a pencil. If you think you know God's rupam or godliness, suvedeti, like I know the object like that. If you think you know, manyase, if you think you know godliness like an object, dabhramevati nunam, tvam means you know very little. It's not something, see, that's what he's always been trying, but he's just summarizing it in a very unique way. Tvam vetha dabhramevati nunam. If you think you know godliness as an object very well, you know very little. Dabhra means very, very little. You know very little. Adhanu, in the second line, adhanu. Therefore, yadasatvam deveshu mimamsyameva. You have to do additional research, additional contemplation, additional shravana and manana and nitidhyasana to claim it in fellow human beings. Yadasyatvam, yadasya deveshu. And in God, when you worship also, not only you worship, but then when your mind stops, you suddenly starting experiencing that oneness. And then mind has to remain calm. That is nididhyasana. So you have to continue doing this. If you think you know, you don't know. You need to do more. Mananam, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Why do they stun your heart, stun your mind, and pull you out of this mental imagination we create? I will tell you a very interesting incident. I want to remember Swami Chinmaya in this movement. Once in I was the president of Chinmaya Mission Tri-State Center in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, Tri-State Center, and Swami Chinmayanji was there, and from his room. So I went there to Swamiji. Breakfast is ready, and he's always very jolly and jovial. And walking to the dining table, he quoted this. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhrame vati noonam. That's what he said. And Swami Tejavananda was also there. And he repeated it. They both laughed. And I just did not know what they are talking about. Mahatmas just talk in this, the revel in the greatness of the teaching. And Swamiji was just walking and just joking like this. I didn't understand what he was saying. And believe me, if I say understood it today, I'm again wrong. It's not something that to be understood, but it is a beautiful sentence. He was just walking to the dining table from the bedroom, and I was following him, and he quoted this. Yadi manyase suvedati dabhramevati noonam. You really know very little if you think you know as an object. That is important, right? Brahmano Rupam. You know Brahmano Rupam. Brahmano Rupam is not something, it is you. So therefore, the teacher is saying, if that is what you think, you need to do more Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shankaracharya writes a commentary on this. Beautiful, of course. Bhagavan himself, he is Shankara. He wrote it. And according to Bhagavan, Shankaracharya, and all our teachers who taught us, the student, having heard this statement from the Guru, he realized his limitations. So basically, it is for all of us. If you think we know, we don't know. It is you. You just have, mind has to stop. You have to own the self of Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. You have to own it. It is you. Swarupa means that actually. It's not a product of the body. It's not a part of the body. It is you. Because of that, this is working. I keep repeating that. That's so important. So student, once he heard this statement from the Guru, he felt prompted to go to more meditation and reflect upon it. And Shankaracharya says he did that and he came back. And he roared, Jagadja, like a lion. Manye viditam, last two words. I think I know. This is a beautiful dialogue. It's like a dialogue between, first two mantras are dialogue between teacher and then student taking clue from that and then making a statement. Manye viditam, I think I know. Here there's a problem. This is a problem with the teaching. The problem with this is, if you say, I do not know, you are insulting the teacher. You might think like that. If you say, I know, you are wrong. This is also a complex situation. It is not an object of knowledge. So it's manya viditam. Is when he said it, he realized he cannot stop there. If he doesn't say that, then he's insulting teacher. He went through all this and for no purpose. So he just said manya viditam. He stopped it there. And then he says next sloka, mantra. Okay. It's a beautiful dialogue. And you have to get the idea here is, you have to think you are talking to yourself and you don't want to, in probing this kind of information, but you have to shift your attention or shift your mind into itself, into contemplative state, and then remain there. Now, when you are there, you would not talk. But you have to talk because he's asking questions. This is where the challenge is. So, mantra 2 goes to this in a beautiful way. Naham, mantra number 2. Okay. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha yonastadveda tadveda nona vedeti vedacha. I'm reading second time. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha yonastadveda tadveda nona vedeti vedacha. This is a very beautiful Upanishad, Kenopanishad. It jocks our mistaken entity so that it suddenly realizes it's going the wrong track. And that process, he actually leads you to give you perfect knowledge first. First step is get that sense of what you are and then try to slowly start claiming it. It is not, I want to repeat this, it is not an object of knowledge, but you claim it. Claim yourself. That is much different from knowing as an object. Claiming is that's what it is. Now the student is saying what he said earlier, manye viditam, I think I know. But if he stops there, then again there is a trap there. Because it's not an object of knowledge. So, but he said it because he wants to make sure he respects Guru. That's why. And then if you had stopped there, there would be a problem. If you just now added this mantra, Naham manye suvedeti. First, I will explain the word meaning a little bit, and then I will gradually build the actual gist of this, the thought process here. Excuse me. Naham manye suvedeti. The first sentence, first, aham, I, na manye sveda iti. I don't think, I don't consider I know it. Manya means consider, think. Suvedeti. I know it well, like this. I like an object. I don't consider, I know it like an object. Nona vedeti vedacha. Nona vedeti. Na veda iti also I don't consider. So it's not something I like an object. Na vedi. I also don't think I don't know. So as a subject, you know. But as not an object, it is not you. So you have to say kind of in a complex way to get the point across. So he said, I don't think I know it as an object. But at the same time, I'm not saying I do not know. Vedacha. Yeah, I know. I consider it as something I do not know and I know both. As an object, I do not know. As a subject, I consider I understand it. It is beyond both known and unknown objectively, but Vedacha, but I consider as I am the consciousness. I equal to consciousness, equal to that Satchit Ananda Swarupa, which is beyond body, mind, and intellect. Vedacha, as that I know. But I should not say I know, I am. So it is different from the known. The categories, now go back to what I said earlier in this class. There are two categories, known category, unknown category. it is different from those both these categories. Unknown goes to known category. Sometimes, of course, known goes to unknown also as we age, but that's a different matter. That is what our learning. It is different from both of them. As the subject that is illumining the thought of both known and unknown, both of them are playing within the consciousness. The consciousness that I explained earlier, all pervading, aware, self-aware being that illumines everything. In that, I have the sense of knowing, in that, I have a sense of not knowing. And both of them are Vedacha, I know. I know, I don't know, and I don't know, I know. And these things are that consciousness, because of consciousness. So, very simple example, frequently Mahatmas give, is suppose I put this pencil on my hand and ask you, do you see it? You say, yeah, I see a pencil. Then I take the pencil out and ask you, do you see lack of it? Yes. So now what do you see? They say, I don't see. There's no pencil now. I don't see pencil. Now, you put it, you say, yes, I see pencil. Take it out, I see, I don't see pencil. What do you see? I don't see pencil. But you miss the point that the hand is still there. The adhara as a hand, we miss. That adhara is Atma. Because of that Atma, you see that sense of yes or no, both. It's a light illuminating both. So the only way you can say it is, I don't know, I know, I do, both you say. Because the hand knows this or lack of it, but hand is still there. Just light is here in the room. The light in the room knows what is came, what has not left. It knows both. It illumines both. Illumine means it makes them part of our experience. Without light, presence and absence also cannot see. In the same way, without the light of Atman, mind cannot see objects coming or going. But when you see Atman itself, then you know it is illuminating both of them. And you still know you are there. That's what the student is saying here. I know both. Naham manye suvedeti, I don't think I know very well, nor I think I don't know. Vedacha, but I know both. So light. As a light, as a conscious principle, you know all of the lack of knowledge or knowledge. Both of them you illuminate. And that is what I know. So this contradicting language, important to say, the categories are not important. The categories are only mental. But what is illuminating both the categories is Atman. Once you relate to Atma Vedacha, you got it. That's how teacher is the student has explained it. Now he is now elaborated this some more. Not only said the answer for which the teacher is very happy, he also said, Yonas tad Veda, nona Vedeti Vedacha. Those who see no Naveda. It's not doesn't see and see both, which that sees presence and absence. Those among us who realize it is that principle which sees the presence and absence They also got it. That sentence he said. So there are so many of you here who can see that conscious aware principle as the absolute presence in which material presence and material absence is witnessed. Those who understood that, they also got it. The student, the teacher is thrilled. And both became silent. Then what happens? Upanishad starts talking again. This happens in Bhagavad Gita all the time. Krishna gives message, Arjuna asks some questions, and suddenly both of them become into a perfect union of teacher, Brahman. And suddenly Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay starts talking because he has to, kind of get it going. It's like a joke, also partial joke. But in chapter 11, it happens. It's a beautiful chapter. So, like that, Upanishad, it gave a small dialogue situation where the student has been tested by the teacher. And then once the student has answered properly that it's beyond both known and unknown, I know that. I know both absence and presence. And he also said, those who know among the people here, Nona Vedeti Vedacha, Yonas Tadvedi Tadveda. Those who know that it is beyond both known and unknown, that whoever recognizes that really knows my statement. So that kind of a powerful clarity is what we attain when we do Shravana. Because in last one of the classes I mentioned, when we do Shravana on topics like this, which are very simple and profound, our mind does feel it. Our mind wants to be there, but unfortunately what happens is Vishaya takes over. And how do we control that? You also, when the Vishaya arises, you say, I'm seeing it because of consciousness. And then Vishaya goes away. Then you say, okay, I'm seeing it because of the consciousness. And you can still remain in meditation. Basically, anything you see has two components. Here, the object and the light. Without the light, I cannot see it. Without the object, light cannot show me anything. In the same way, without consciousness, the thought of object in the mind cannot come. Now you drop the object. Now you do meditation, Vishaya has come. Vishaya is the object only. About your children or about your finances. In consciousness, that springs up. Now you shift your attention from the Vishaya to the consciousness. Then Vishaya is an uninvited guest to leave. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjan rasopyasya parandrustva nivartate. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in chapter 2, Sthitaprajna Lakshanas. If you don't entertain Vishayas, they leave. You remain. It's very simple. Only question here is, we have never paid attention to it. Then sadhana is dropping that preoccupation with the actual data. The data rises in the consciousness. Now, once you attach yourself to the consciousness, to that information, you get bundled up. That mixture is thought plus consciousness, object plus consciousness, that mixture becomes life. But once you are aware whether the thought, whether the object is there or not, consciousness is there. When both of them are there, and then we shift your attention to the consciousness part, this will drop. Slowly, slowly, slowly. That is called Udidhyasana. The happiness is in your hands. Life you can live. But don't be bogged down by likes and dislikes. When we get bogged down by likes and dislikes, life becomes misery. Because we create it. This is the most important point is we grab them and then we complain. And every moment of life, every fraction, you have a choice. Do you want to look towards the consciousness side or you want to look at the mixture of both? When you have a mixture of both, you are maintaining the Vishaya in your heart. That mixture adds more spice, more spice, more spice. The Vishaya, they multiply. Then mind becomes a slave to the Vishayas. Then it forgets Atman completely. That's why Bhagavan Krishna said, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. Those who do not entertain Vishayas means who do not feed. He uses the word Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. Those who don't feed. Dehinaha means of the body, mind, intellect. Those who do not feed asakti in them, those Vishayas vinivartante, they leave. Because if you don't feed. So consciousness, ever existing infinite presence, I define today in added few more sentences and then made these 5 points that you have to remember. And then world of matter is only 3. Whereas consciousness is not those 3. So he crossed them 3. So these are not this, then 2 more I added. That is Satchit, it's infinite existence, consciousness or being or sentiency. Then it's not a part or property of the body or mind or intellect. It is independent principle. And it remains even when the body drops because it is independent, swatantra. This is only information. Actually, information of the body is in the mind. Information of the mind is in the consciousness. And then as consciousness, none of them exist. When Vishayas rise, you can be disconnecting from them, looking towards the consciousness side. If you look towards the information side, then you get caught into that. That is how meditation has to go. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om